Let's talk about Catman. So I'm in the middle of creating this weird cinematic universe featuring abandoned superheroes that have fallen into the public domain, and this series is by far one of my favorites. Originally appearing in the 1940 publication Crash Comics, the character became a big enough hit to start headlining the magazine. In a nutshell, the story revolves around one David Merrywether, a private detective with one of the most bizarre origin stories you've probably ever heard. As an infant, his family takes him along on a zoology expedition in Burma. When his parents and siblings are killed, baby David is left for dead in the jungle. He's soon picked up by a mother tigress who decides to raise him as her own. When David comes of age, he saves one of his adopted brothers from death and is rewarded by being led to human civilization. After learning the ropes of high society, he decides to return to America, and there he finds a country full of corruption, villainy, and evil. He becomes a private eye, and ultimately takes up the mantle of the Catman to begin a cunning crusade against crime. What kind of superpowers does our hero possess? Well, thanks to his childhood in the jungle, David can climb the tallest trees, leap great distances, talk to animals, he can see in the dark, and perhaps most importantly, like any cat, he's been given 9 lives. The first few issues of the comic series are pretty standard superhero fare. David either stumbles upon or is hired to investigate unsolved mysteries and crack open cases. He does some sleuthing in his civvies and eventually throws on his Catman costume whenever the situation gets dicey. This typically results in a row with that episode's baddies, culminating in the villain gaining the upper hand and killing him. But just as all hope seems lost, the page is turned and the spirit of David's tigress mother appears on the page to revive him. Then, granted one of his extra lives, the Catman picks himself up for round 2 against the villain and saves the day. The only real problem with this formula is that you start running out of those 9 lives pretty quickly, and by Catman Comics issue number 5, the writers decide to slow up a bit with the constant death and resurrections, and instead enlist David into the military, and introduce the character of Katie Kahn, an 11-year-old circus acrobat who is forced into a life of crime by her no-good uncle, serving as his accomplice to various crimes after she falls into his custody when her parents are killed in a circus accident. Any of that sound kind of familiar? After David rescues and adopts her, she quickly finds out about his alter ego and decides to become his sidekick, the Kitten. At first, our hero is apprehensive about having a partner, but after she manages to get him out of several pinches, he eventually relents, and the perfect pairing is born. See what I did there? The addition of Katie into the Catman story was an absolute hit with fans, and the publishers soon gave her a spin-off where she's sent to summer camp and meets Mickey Matthews, the sidekick from The Deacon, another character in the Catman Comics anthology. And together, they team up for the series Little Leaders. Over the next few years, Catman and the Kitten would fight a variety of different villains of the week, from ghastly ghouls to Nazis, from mob bosses to murderers, and fans enjoyed occasional Catman crossovers thanks to Little Leaders. In 1945, the publication attempted a retcon of the Catman origin story and introduced Dr. Macabre, a horror-themed villain who would act as a recurring antagonist through 1946, until the publisher, Temerson's Continental Magazines, went bankrupt. Catman didn't go away entirely, though. In the 1950s, an Australian version of the character briefly appeared. When war rules prevented American imports, Australian publisher Gordon and Gotch just decided to start drawing and distributing their own. This unauthorized version of the series bears next to no resemblance to the American source material, except for a sort of a similar costume. They're easy to spot. Each issue is black and white and a much more low-budget affair. These stories, entitled Catman and Kit, are also far darker. Catman is armed with an arsenal of deadly weapons. He has no superpowers to speak of, which he compensates for by carrying around a pistol. This version didn't last very long, and by the end of the 50s, Catman and the Kitten was gone from magazine stands. Due to the copyright lapsing, the comics have all fallen into the public domain, and over the years, several different publishers have attempted their own iterations. AC Comics tried a version in the 80s, which is weird. It has a very uncomfortable premise that I don't particularly want to get into. Many of you have also seen takes on the character from DC Comics, as well as the Fairly Odd Parents. It's important to note that a lot of these are simply grabbing the Catman name and are creating their own totally new continuities with new characters and backstories. All of these have their own copyrights, but that original story of David Merrywether, that remains open for reimagination and recreation till the end of time. And that is what I have done. Over the past year, I've been working on a Catman story of my own, and I've teamed up with Spiky Tortoise to premiere this Saturday morning cartoon-style story right here on my channel. It's coming out very soon. I'm gonna link to it here. Go check it out. Give it a watch, leave us feedback. It's a totally original story in the vein of the source material. David Merrywether's crusade against crime continues. Maybe you have creative ideas of your own and you want someplace to show them. You should make a website. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. They have everything you need to get started. Start with one of their best-in-class website templates and then use their new Fluid engine to customize it just the way you need. You can use their member areas feature to host exclusive video content, and as always, if you've got something to sell, their online storefront makes it easy. Head to squarespace.com to start a free trial today. Then, when you're ready to launch your site in full, go to squarespace.com/Austin McConnell and you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.